The Corpse Bride is truly an underappreciated gem, and the titular character, Emily, has a heart-wrenching story. In this video, we'll delve into her character and explore the tragic events that shaped her life. When we see her in the film, she's a bride who has passed away, but the story of what happened to her years before is deeply tragic. We don't get to see much of her life when she was alive, but through her memories and the tale she shares, we can piece together important details. Before the tragic events that changed everything, Emily was a young woman from a very wealthy family. She was beautiful and full of life, likely raised with all the privileges her family could offer. But despite having everything at her fingertips, she longed for something more authentic, true love. She yearned to escape the conventional arranged marriages so common in high society during that time. She was a romantic at heart, filled with dreams of running away and being with someone who genuinely loved her for who she was, not because of her family's wealth or status. In her world, her family prioritized maintaining their wealth and social standing over everything else. They didn't share her desire for love that was pure and unconditional. Emily's dream was to leave all her privileges behind and be with the man she truly loved. Unfortunately, life had other plans, and her dream of a perfect love story never came true in the way she had hoped. She fell deeply in love with a man she genuinely believed loved her for who she was, and not just because of her family's wealth. Back in those days, marriages were often more about securing a good financial future than about love. But Emily thought she had found something truly special, a real connection with someone. She was convinced that this man was different, that he didn't care about her family's money or status. In secret, she made plans with this supposedly loving man to run away together under the cover of night. She took some of her family's valuable jewels with her, planning to leave behind the strict rules of high society and start a new life with the person she loved. She imagined a future where they could be free to love each other without any obstacles. But when she arrived at their meeting point, she was faced with the ultimate betrayal. The man she trusted and believed loved her turned out to be a complete fake. He had manipulated her emotions and used her trust for his own cruel gain. In the end, he did the unthinkable. He murdered her for the jewels. That's how Emily met her tragic end. After her death, she was buried in the cold ground under the moonlight, left forever unable to escape the life she had hoped to leave behind. Her killer took the valuable goods and disappeared, never looking back. The beautiful love story she had always dreamed of had turned into a nightmare. Her soul was left wandering, trapped between the world of the living and the dead, unable to find peace. Even after her death, when all her dreams seemed lost forever, Emily still held on to the hope of finding love. What's remarkable about her is that she wasn't consumed by anger or hatred, which would have been understandable given the horrific way she died. Instead, she was heartbroken, longing for the love that had been taken away from her. Even in death, she yearned for companionship and a happy ending. In the movie, Victor, the main character, accidentally proposes to her by placing a ring on what he thinks is a twig but is actually her skeletal hand. At that moment, Emily is overwhelmed with happiness, believing that fate has finally given her another chance at love. However, as the story unfolds, she realizes that Victor doesn't love her in the way she had hoped. He is already in love with a living woman named Victoria. Although Victor grows to care for Emily, his heart belongs to Victoria. This realization is another heartbreak for Emily. But it's also the moment when her character truly shines. Despite everything she's been through, a tragic past and unimaginable suffering, she does something truly selfless. She doesn't force Victor to stay with her. Instead, she chooses to let him go because she sees the love between Victor and Victoria and recognizes that it's real. It's the kind of love she once longed for herself. This act of letting go finally frees her soul. She had been trapped in the land of the dead, not just physically but emotionally, unable to move on because of the betrayal and pain she suffered in life. When she chose to put someone else's happiness before her own, she finds peace. The scene where she dissolves into a swarm of butterflies is one of the most beautifully haunting moments in the film. It symbolizes her release from the pain of her past and her transition into the afterlife. She's no longer bound by sorrow or longing, she's finally free.